go. Okay, I think we'll make a start. So thank you everyone again for joining us today for this Fair Luxury Open House at the slightly later and less normal time for us, around 5 p.m. here in the UK. And that is mainly to accommodate our many guests from the US and from that side of the Atlantic. So welcome everyone. First thing to note, of course, is as usual with the open house sessions, we are recording. So if you would prefer not to have your face on the recording, then please turn off your video now. But we are recording this, and we will be sharing this session through our various social media channels and through our follow-up newsletter. And so yes, this is pretty exciting. This is our second collaboration with Ethical Metalsmiths. So welcome to the EM team. And it's particularly poignant, I think, that it is the 20-year anniversary of Ethical Metalsmiths. So here we are in your 20th year of existence, and doing our only second collaboration together. I think I've been aware now of Ethical Metalsmiths as an organization for probably 7 or 8 years. I think first time I came across EM was in Tucson on a visit to Arizona for the gem shows and for a conference that was being held there. And we had, as Fair Luxury, we'd been going at that point probably just a few years, and it was fairly clear from the outset, and has continued to be the case, that Fair Luxury and Ethical Metalsmiths are very much aligned in many of our thoughts and our ways that we're approaching the activities that we undertake, the way in which we're engaging with the industry. And I think we have a lot of common ground, although I would say we approach things in a slightly different way. Fair Luxury has always been very much a non-membership setup, whereas EM I've always seen as our membership counterpart, if you like. But we have this common ground. We have very similar ideas and thoughts on, in particular, responsible sourcing, but also on educating the industry and taking these important messages and these important ideas to the wider audience in various ways. I think it's fair to say that as organizations, we care about raising issues that maybe other organizations in our industry are slightly reluctant to raise. And so I feel that we both, in our own individual ways, serve a really important purpose. So today we will be hearing from various members of the Ethical Metalsmiths team, and they will be giving short presentations on key areas of activity for EM. Hopefully many of these things are going to resonate with you, with our Fair Luxury audience. Maybe even inspire you to get involved in Ethical Metalsmiths in a greater way. And shortly, I'm going to be handing over to Barbara Wheat, who is the Executive Director of Ethical Metalsmiths. And I think this year marks 10 years of being a member for you, Barbara, if I remember correctly from our conversation previously. That's another little milestone.
Yes, about 10, 11 years now that I've been a member. And I'm not a metalsmith, so it was great to find out that you didn't have to be a metalsmith to join.
Yes, that's one of the important points we should probably make during the course of the presentation. You do not need to be a maker to get involved with Ethical Metalsmiths. So we will be hearing from, as I say, various members of the team and seeing a presentation about these areas of activity. And then we will have afterwards a Q&A session, so anyone can pose any questions that you might have. Please feel free as we go along to put your questions into the chat box, and I'll be monitoring that along with my colleagues in the Fair Luxury team. So we will gather those questions together, hopefully not miss anything, and we will come to those at the end of the presentation. Okay, and I will then therefore hand over to you, Barbara, and we'll hope the technology works and we can get the screen sharing going, and I'll let you take on the next part of the open house.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And thanks for mentioning our 20th anniversary. It's been a very exciting time to think about the length of time that Ethical Metalsmiths has been around. So let me see if I can share my screen. Whoopsies. Okay, so first up, I don't know if it's okay with Brandy and the other board members who are on that I take the opportunity to announce what some people might not know, that Brandy Dallow is our president-elect. This slide just basically telling us, we've got a lot of members worldwide. We are governed by a board of directors. We have an advisory council. And of course, I'm the executive director. Will, I didn't let you know that your slide was up first. Are you available to say a few words about Action Coalition?
Sure am. Give me 1 second.
I mean, A is for action, so A
Sure
comes.
is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so just a little bit about Action Coalition. I think it was first, I guess, developed by Ethical Metalsmiths to kind of be a faster moving, action-oriented kind of committee or group, or of members who wanted to kind of respond quicker to things that popped up in the industry or that we saw happening. Over the years, it's had a couple different levels of involvement and enthusiasm as people get busy and roles change. So I think we're at that phase where there was a lot of enthusiasm and some things got started. And now we're in that kind of like rebuilding, like what do we want to focus on phase. So it's a great time to join Action Coalition and kind of have kind of more input and impact with what you want to kind of work on. I think the really cool part of Action Coalition is it's very self-guided. So if you have a idea, you can bring it. You might have other, colleagues or folks there who also are curious about it. I know that's kind of where I was interested in silver and brought it up, and other people were talking about platinum. So it's been fun to, excuse me, to kind of think more about that and how we can have more impact on platinum sourcing, especially small scale platinum sourcing, not just the LSM or recycled platinum. And yeah, what else to say? Yeah, we have some fun things happening now. One is platinum, one is deep sea mining that Susan Wheeler's kind of pushing a lot for, which is great. So she's bringing a lot of attention there. Oh, thank you, Barbara. That's great. Go team. And then there's always I guess there's always conversation in Action Coalition for kind of supporting mining communities, and we see different things coming up on the news in different places, or many times not seen in the news. So it's like how to bring more awareness to about those mining communities or horrible things happening in the mines and things like that. So that's kind of something we're always kind of talking about, and with less and more success have worked with that. We also Alyssa Thorpe from Mercurius spearheaded the survey a couple years ago. So that was an awesome document to kind of have actual data from the community. That I'm not sure where that stands now currently, but that's something where we would, yeah, I think that'd be great to kind of dive into that again and get larger reach and kind of fine tune some of those questions, both to see how they've changed over the past couple of years, as well as maybe doing a deeper dive into some of those as well. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I guess the only other thing to say is the Better Jewelry Project was also born out of the Action Coalition, as well as a couple other initiatives. So that's another one that kind of came out of that, and we're kind of working with Ethical Metalsmiths to kind of see what structure that will take moving forward. So yeah, Action Coalition, really cool space. you can actually have impact, and a lot of things are born there, and then it's kind of an ongoing conversation and collaboration with ethical metalsmiths to see what form that takes, because there's just a lot of variety. So it's like where does that go next? Yeah, so that's Action Coalition. Exciting times.
Hi, I'm Lucy Derrickson, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about the Education Committee. So we're a pretty large group of people. A lot of us are educators, and it kind of grew out of a lot of educators that kind of worked together and wanted to continue to build some programs through EM that could affect students, affect new professionals, and then and just professionals in general in the field through a bunch of different things that we do. So like it says there, we're focused on developing projects for students, educators, anyone within the jeweler world who is learning or is interested in sort of learning alongside of us, because we acknowledge that nothing is perfect at this point in the field just about anywhere, and so we want to figure out ways together to consider what are best practices, how are we influencing, in some of our cases, the students that are working with us, and stuff like that. So there's our group. And let's go to the next slide. I'm going to actually post something in the chat too. So a lot of our projects or our programs are found on the EM website under the EM programs tab. And so there's just kind of like the entryway into a lot of the various things we've done. And some of them have been kind of one-off projects, like we did something called Academics in Pandemic, when, the pandemic was kind of at its full force and everybody was working at home, and what did student work look like at that time, and things like that. These I'd say would be the most popular programs that we've been working on as an education team. Critical Smiths is one where we kind of reach out to either a small student group or even an individual to embark on some kind of a research project. And we've had two so far. One of them was with a group at QCA in Australia under Liz Shaw. And they did some work on flux and the different kinds of fluxes that people are using. What are some of the things in flux that maybe we want to be thinking about in terms of protecting ourselves? We've also did another one just with an individual student in mass art in Boston, who did some research on pickle and what we should be thinking about in terms of pickle disposal, what types of pickle options are out there. And so we've got like posters that they've made as part of their research. The idea was like, we'll ask some questions, we'll find some answers, and we'll create some sort of a shareable poster that studios can post in their workspaces for others to see. So all that's part of the Critical Smiths program. We're kind of always looking for new student groups to reach out and be interested, in working on a research project. So Fresh, So Clean, right? So this is a student exhibition that is now on its 10th year. We just launched our 10th exhibition, and it's always featuring student work, student members. They're always members of the org already. And it's always a new group that's on the jury. So the jury is usually our EM student committee, which is hosted at Virginia Commonwealth University, and it's always just kind of stayed at VCU, even though there's other student committees can certainly pop up if people are interested in doing projects at their schools or anywhere. But the one that we've had consistently is at Virginia Commonwealth University, and their project has always been So Fresh, So Clean. And every year they bring in, so there's always new grad students kind of coming in and out. So the flair of each exhibition is always kind of fine-tuned to the group that's working on it. And we generally bring in one or two sort of guest jurors, for the team to work with, and to also kind of like add some pizzazz to the show from year to year. And all of those are also available on the EM website. So it's a digital show. It's always been an online exhibition. We've actually never had an in-person exhibition for this show. And so the archive is always available on our website, for anybody to see at any time. So that's kind of fun to kind of see how that's changed over the years if you look through it. And then there's International State of Practice, and this is one of our newer programs, like in the last few years. We've had 3 versions so far. It's a webinar series, and it's open to the public. You know, there's no pay or anything to join. We just open it up to whoever wants to come and listen. And we've kind of geared it towards different themes, you know, from each iteration. The first one was really focused on, you know, students and new professionals and some of the things that, you know, we thought they would want to know and hear and learn about, hearing from different artists that were in the same kind of point in their careers, and how and also internationally. So how are some of like the sourcing issues different if you're in Australia or if you're in China or if you're in the US, you know, things like that. So we tried to get kind of a variety of people to talk to us about it and just go through some of the basics of like what are these issues that we're all kind of concerned about, because sometimes it's easy to kind of brush over sort of like the basic introduction of like what are some of the problems we were focusing on or concerned about in the first place, after we've all been involved so long that we are deep in the weeds of it, and so backing up and being like, what are we thinking about, like what's the big picture here. So that was our first one. Our second iteration was geared more towards educators, and so we focused on some studios that like what are they doing to sort of have more sustainably minded programs. So we featured Curtis Arima from California College of the Arts, who's really like at the forefront of building like a very sustainably minded studio space for students, right? Like at these institutions. We also heard from Liz Shaw at that one. So again, that's recorded. You can go and watch it. And then the last one we just did in September was really amazing. We focus this more on learning from artists in the field that are making work with this idea of sustainability in mind. And we were talking with oh, well, of course, the names are going to escape me at the moment, but it was about bioregional design and sort of like place-based design was the focus of it. And it was really, really, really amazing. So again, those are all recorded and available on the website, you know, I know I force my students to watch them as assignments in my classes. So we kind of are building our own class content sometimes with these projects. And then probably one of the most well-known projects that the education committee, but this project actually predates the education committee altogether, which is Radical Jewelry Makeover. And we've sort of, you know, embraced it in our education committee projects, but it's been around longer than our committee has. But that's Radical Jewelry Makeover. And there actually just so happens to be this lovely video. We're kind of working on a project towards building a series of videos for this program, to make it easier for any group to kind of bring it into their either studio practice or to their schools to do this program. And so I'll let maybe Barbara play the video, and then it's like 2 minutes. It's really short. We're really proud of it because we finally got a video and we're like, yay, we want everybody to see it now. So we're going to show that, and then I'll kind of chime in with a couple other things about it if I think they missed something. So take it away, Barbara, if you can.
Okay, Lucy, we practiced this, but we weren't live. So am I supposed to stop sharing and then find the video, or just try to click on it?
Well, I think that you already have it open on your page. So if you stop the screen share and then start the screen share on the YouTube page that you already have open.
Saying my screen sharing is paused.
Maybe just
Hmm.
exit out and try to maybe like click on the link, refresh your link and try again. Maybe stop the screen share.
Yeah, okay.
Just click the
Because
link.
it was
and then you
there
can
when we
finish sharing.
practiced. Oh, here it is.
Okay, great. There it is. I can see it. It's quiet at first.
For every one gold ring produced, 20 tons of waste rock are created. No matter where you're going, however.
Oh, it just It just went on mute. Barbara, I think you have to stay off of mute.
Where your material is coming from, if you are wearing or making jewelry. It begs the question, do we really need to mine more material from the earth? This is our tagline. Ready? Radical Jewelry Makeover is an international traveling community jewelry mining and recycling project. We use event-driven teaching, call to action donation drive to gather unwanted jewelry and put it back to good use in the hands of jewelers who remake it into made-over jewelry.
Generally, somebody with a jewelry workshop posts. We put out a call to action donation drive in the community. We get that material. That material is then sorted and handed out to the participating jeweler. They make that jewelry over into new made-over pieces of jewelry, which is then put out into an exhibition where people can come and buy that jewelry and wear it and continue to tell the story of RJM. If you're a community member, you can participate by donating. You can participate by buying a piece of jewelry and telling the story of RJM.
We work very actively to build community around this project and around the mission of the project, which is to inform and educate jewelers and consumers about where their material comes from if they are wearing or buying jewelry.
The mission of Radical Jewelry Makeover is really threefold. We focus on education and community building with the goal of trying to reduce jewelry's impact on the environment.
Thanks, Barbara, for showing that. So yeah, it was a little lagging. So anyways, you know, you kind of got the picture, hopefully, that it's really a donation-based program where we reach out to the community. Generally, it's a program that, you know, we install them. We say it's an installment that happens at a specific community, usually centered around an academic institution, but not always. We've also done things like with the Jewelry Edit in New York, and so like smaller galleries and things like that. But most of the installments have happened at institutions. I think we've got like well over 20 that have happened now in the last 10 or 15 years. And it really engages the community in a pretty wild way where, you know, we're getting all of these donations of the unwanted jewelry. We have students working with materials that they probably wouldn't have been able to work with at that stage. Like, you know, gold comes in as donations. Like I certainly didn't get to use gold in my undergrad, you know? So it gives students the opportunity to work with materials that they might not otherwise had a chance to. And then also generally all of these programs, when they happen, they reach out to the community. And so like local jewelers and local professionals come in and provide their guidance. They also make work for the show. So there's a whole kind of variety in terms of level of work, from like students that might be in their very first, you know, year of a program to, you know, people who have been working with metal for years and years and years. And then other community members that are feeling engaged because like they just saw their old jewelry turn into something else. And usually if you or always if you donate, you get something back from that. So depending on what you donate, there's sort of like an economy of value. If it's just costume jewelry, you tend to get like 5% or something off of a new piece of jewelry. And if you're donating more valuable materials and silver and gemstones and things like that, you tend to get a higher discount towards a new piece of jewelry that you can pick out at the end of the exhibition. And we don't, you know, we sell a lot during those exhibitions, but we don't always sell all of it. And so what we just launched this year, which has been a long time coming, it's always amazing like how long it takes something to really happen when it seems like, oh, just build a store. And it's like, oh, well, that took a really long time just to build a store. But we finally did it. And we have a store on the Ethical Metalsmiths website now that is featuring work from those installments, like things that just didn't sell yet. And we also have some offshoots or kind of satellite projects that have happened. Something called the Radical Jewelry Makeover Artist Project, which is, people or professionals that participated in one of those installments, and we've kind of reached back out to them and said, like, hey, we want to see what you would do if we asked you to make a series of work now instead of maybe just a one-off piece. And we give them more material from those donation piles, and they make a series of work. And so those are considered our RJM artists. So like there's a couple offshoots of it. We just had a jewelry competition called Re-Jewelry that happened for New York City Jewelry Week last year. So we're always kind of thinking of new things to do through the RJM kind of umbrella. But those installments at schools tend to be the bread and butter of what we get into. So that's the education committee. I went off script today. I usually follow a script, and today I said I'm just going to go for it. So hopefully that was okay.
Always amazing, Lucy. Always, always.
Well, you can see, and hello to all to everybody, Fair Luxury EMers. But as you can see by the committee members, it's quite diverse and deep. Responsible sourcing is one of those terms that is being bantered around through our industry, and it's a tricky subject. I think at Ethical Metalsmiths, we don't have a policy of recommending sources. We sort of depend on word of mouth and networking between us, between friends and collaborators. So that's sort of what we advise as far as finding sources. I guess I would say that since it's such a hot topic throughout our industry, I know that CIBJO is having their meetings right now in China, and that is one of the big topics currently. CIBJO is a great source of information for all aspects of our industry. I would recommend anyone look into their website and look at their blue books, which are available for free. I'm currently working with a group out of the UK, and many of you probably know the Crystal Clear CIC, which is headed by Jill Irwin, and she has a lovely operation called She's Lost Control. But we've started some projects of getting resources to producing gem producing communities, and that's just one tiny thing that we're kind of connected with through Ethical Metalsmiths. Within Ethical Metalsmiths, there's platforms for communicating, and sometimes it feels a little complicated how to access that and communicate. But I would encourage that Ethical Metalsmiths uses that platform to reach out and collaborate with fellow members and people that are interested in all the things that we do. I'm currently also involved with another group. I'm on the board of Gems Keep Giving, which is a fairly new operation. And the intention of that group is to work specifically with color gemstone producers and cutters. And I'm pretty encouraged that I feel like this group will be investing resources directly into projects on the ground with very, very little administrative costs, because everyone in that group is volunteer so far. So as far as our committee, we actually rarely have scheduled meetings. So I don't know if there's much I can say about our committee members and how we meet. All I can say is that each one of us are good resources as far as information. And, you know, being in the advisory committee, all of us, it's another resource that Ethical Metalsmiths has in their toolbox. If anyone else wants to comment on this aspect, please just speak up.
Hi, I'm Monica Stevenson, for those who don't know me. I'm the former president, so immediate past president, prior to Christina Mall, who's the current president. And I've also been on the responsible sourcing committee as long as I have been a part of the Ethical Metalsmiths board, which is going on like 9 years now, I think, which is kind of staggering when I think about it. But Brian gave a great overview. We haven't been as active recently. When I first joined the committee years ago, we were really, really focused on how do we try to bring maybe a set of vetting tools or even vetted suppliers, you know, to Ethical Metalsmiths. And what we realized after a lot of discussion and really going back to kind of like, what does ethical mean at its roots? We decided that really what we can do, the best way we can serve the community, is to provide some tools around that kind of vetting of suppliers. And we really focused a lot on colored gemstones, because I think that that's an area that's really complicated and kind of confusing for a lot of our members. So there is a resource, and I will, as soon as I'm done speaking, I'll go find the resource and drop it in the chat. But there is a resource that we developed under, I believe it's resources on the EM website, to evaluate colored gemstone dealers. And this was specifically kind of built around like, how would you approach people in Tucson? Like, let's say you're a designer, you're a maker, you're somehow involved in the industry, and you really want to buy something and you want to make a good decision. That was kind of the basis of how we structured this document. And it's, I think it's really thoughtful. I think allows for the nuance that happens within this subject. And it could be like a really helpful guide if any of you are headed to Tucson, and I hope you are. Would love to see you there. But or even in conversations with your regular gemstone dealers, wherever you might be located, it just brings up a few questions that could be asked in a way that is not necessarily super confrontational, but also tries to kind of get at the heart of the matter. So just one of the resources that we kind of worked on in this committee. I do know that there has been some discussion about reactivating the committee. So by all means, if you want to join us, if you want to join EM and join this committee, happy to have your input. Oh, thank you, Stuart. It sometimes, the more complicated the subject, the simpler the solution needs to be. So we're still working on, to Brian's point about communicating with NEM as a group, we're still working on some of the best ways to do that. Right now, we have Circle as our community to communicate within our members. And who knows, there might be some other resource that's super easy and super accessible in the future, but just so you know, if you do join EM, you get an access to this member forum where there has been in the past a lot of dialogue, discussion, bringing up topics, maybe bringing in say headlines that are not getting talked about in the wider trade press or consumer press. So there are some ways to kind of communicate within our group, and we're always open to suggestions in terms of how to make that easier as well. Sorry, I went a little off topic there, Barbara, but just wanted to make sure people know that there's a way to communicate within EM. Thanks again, Brian, for giving that synopsis.
Well, thank you for filling in. I appreciate that.
Yes, and I didn't realize that the gemstone supplier conversation guide was mentioned on this next slide. So you're seeing that right now. Sorry about that. Well, this looks like it's our last slide. Basically, the reason I wanted to show this is that, on our website, and I will add the link to it, we've made an annual report, which I guess is a requirement for nonprofit organizations anyway. But I think that, if you ever want to go and look at some, you don't maybe don't want to look at all of them, but there's a lot of information about the work that EM has done. And for, a rather smallish organization, I'm like the only staff member really. But there's so much going on, and that is due to the work that our board members and committee advisors do. So I just want to give a shout out to all of them. And something happened to my screen again. Let me stop sharing and see if that works. Okay. But anyway, so thank you to everyone for being here. I think that we were going to maybe have a little bit of a discussion now. If anybody has questions or wants to just bring up some topics to get some feedback on, we can do that right now.
I'm happy to start off, at least with the some initial questions, but please, anyone else, feel free to join in as well. So I'd like to start with maybe just going back to the educational part, so maybe some questions for Lucy. Just a little bit more, I think in particular you mentioned the Critical Smiths project, and I just wondered if you could clarify how people get involved in that, because you mentioned that it was possible to get involved, and I just wondered what the process was for that.
Yeah, so we have it featured on our website, and really just on that website page, it's like reach out essentially to me, just like email me. It's education@ethicalmetalsmiths.org. I'll put it in the chat. And yeah, really, it's like if you have a group or an individual that's looking to kind of embark on a research project, it's a little bit different than our other projects because it's research based, right? We're asking you to kind of define a question and then help us think about what are some answers to that questions or some options to that question, and then we kind of end up providing you this platform for being able to share that information that you've kind of collected, and we help kind of promote what you've done, and give you an avenue to share through all of our cool stuff that we have. But really, all you have to do is reach out to me. And again, it can be a large group, it can be an individual. And it really just comes down to we're looking for someone who's motivated to do it, right? Like we kind of help support you. But really, it's something that you want to do. You want to find out some of these answers, and then we kind of help support you while you're doing that. Yeah. Did that help, Stuart?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So I was just wanting to make sure that we had it documented as to how people could get involved. But I think that's one of the many fantastic benefits, if you like, of EM membership, is that you're joining in with this community of really experienced jewelry professionals. And like you say, you can come with an idea and not only have that channel to publicize the results of your project, but also get that support initially as well. Right. So, and then one thing we haven't mentioned, I don't think, unless I missed it, was the source. Would anyone like to mention the source? Because I think that again is a fantastic thing, which is open, I believe, to everyone, members and non-members alike, and has only just recently celebrated its 4th anniversary, if I'm correct. So over to you, EMT team. Who would like to speak about that?
I could jump in unless there's someone directly involved. I think a lot of people have some involvement. But this was something during COVID. We were incredibly productive in terms of an organization. Actually, we kind of churned out the hits during that time, and One of those was this idea that had been kicking around for a while, which was to give voice to topics that were important in the industry that are often, again, not getting covered, or featuring voices that do not typically get covered. For instance, artisanal mining communities and source communities and the hidden parts of our industry that are not usually in the mainstream. So Chloe Beaumont is the editor-in-chief of that, and she has a team working with her. Kyle, some of you may know him. He's also on the advisory board, EM's advisory board. Christina Mall has been a contributor. There's actually quite a number of contributors. So there is original content that is produced and written. We have an ethics review and a peer review process so that we can make sure that anything that we are publishing on our own or as a republish, there's also this idea of like reposting valuable viewpoints that have been out in the world but haven't really gotten maybe as much play. And so we have a review process for that as well. So it's all open source. You can go to the link in the chat. You can peruse to your heart's content. There's now, 4 years of material there, some really great perspectives, really digging deep in certain topics that, again, don't get a lot of play otherwise. This is one area. I think there's a number of areas. This is one way to bring up to potential collaboration with Fair Luxury and your I'm not going to say members because you're not necessarily a member organization, but the idea that we could collaborate on things like this too, where we over and over, every time we have like an annual retreat of the board, it comes up that we really welcome and want and encourage international conversations, expansion. And this is one wonderful way to do it. Thank you so much for this opportunity to kind of share these ideas. So we're always looking for ways to collaborate. So if anyone, in addition to your questions, if you have other ideas or ways that we might cross pollinate and collaborate, we are very, very open to suggestions.
Sounds great. Thank you, Monica. And yeah, I have to say I was fortunate enough to be one of the earlier people that was interviewed by Chloe for the source. And I know that a couple of my other colleagues in the Fair Luxury team have also had interviews. So we've already been involved to a certain extent, but happy to be involved further for sure. Talking of involvement, I just wanted to say also on the point of the Action Coalition that Will spoke about earlier, and I've attended a few of the Action Coalition meetings, and I think it's an amazing forum. The idea and the thought process behind it is something that I would really urge people to take advantage of and to get involved again in a slightly similar way with the Critical Smiths project, that people can come to Action Coalition, they can have an idea, they can get support and get kind of almost like a peer review sense check of what they want to do or what areas they want to get involved in and to research and to analyze. And so I think it's a really good space for people to do that. So if you've got some burning question about the industry, I think you could do a lot worse than actually come along to an Action Coalition meeting and speak with the people there. Right, so another slightly, just a small thing that I don't think we've covered so far was the fact that were there not a few EM people at the United Nations recently? Would anyone like to tell us what happened there?
Well, I wasn't one of the people who were there, but yes, we with Susan Wheeler's help, we made an application to join the United Nations Fashion Lifestyle Network, and we were approved. We do have a page on their website, and in light of our membership, we have been invited to attend not things to do just with the with the fashion end of the industry that we're working in, but they have invited us to live sessions at the United Nations in New York. So people like Brandy, who's in New York, and other of our members who are there, you know, possibly could attend some of those sessions. So yeah, I think I did announce this at the Chicago Responsible Jewelry Conference, but yeah, not everybody knows about it, and we're just thrilled. You know, the emails that we get, the information that that is shared with us now, it's also a big help to us knowing what's going on out there in the big world.
Stuart, if I could just add to that, I think the idea of doing things at the UN flows throughout doing things with more industry people and more people outside the industry. So I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to take a look at what groups, what individuals are out there that can help us further our cause, working with you, of course, and continuing to find partnerships that benefit the members. And benefit, of course, the responsible jewelers within our industry. And so I hope that the UN is one place that we can work on that, and of course, in any other way that is supportive of doing the right thing.
Well, as you well know, I'm a huge fan of cooperation and collaboration on as broad a scale as possible. So I absolutely love to hear that. And actually, one of the other things on my list was that as I just scanned through a little bit of the EM social media, I noticed, I mean, even in a quick overview, collaborations with, as Barbara just mentioned, the Responsible Jewelry Conference in Chicago. There was presence at New York Fashion Week. I think some of you were at the AGS Conclave. Were you not also at the SNAG conference? I know you had somebody at AGTA in Tucson. You certainly had people at the US Ethical Gem Fair in Tucson. So it's incredible how much involvement you have and how much presence there is of EM, with other organizations. And I just wondered, where do you see most value in those collaborations? Are there any of those in particular that we should know about, that you think, yeah, these are things that are really going to be incredibly beneficial to EM moving forward? Which of those many and numerous involvements that you have?
Well, I've been lucky enough to attend some of the shows or events where we have been invited to exhibit. So Tucson was a big one for us last year, but before the AGTA show, we were actually in the Ethical Gem Supplier show. We had a little table there and met lots of people, lots of very like-minded people there. Not that there weren't also like-minded people at AGTA. We recently had a booth at the JA New York show. And prior to that, we also did the Atlanta show. So this is all just, kind of people coming to us. They're hearing about Ethical Metalsmiths, maybe seeing us more in the news and that kind of thing, and publicizing our activities. So we've had actually the organizers reaching out to us to bring our message to their attendees and members.
I think overall, it's really important for industry and academia to understand that EM is a community that can be filled with people from all of these different groups, and that we share this common, goal of being a more ethical business. And so we don't stand alone, and I don't think we should stand alone ever. Each of these groups, depending on what it does and who's involved, is important. And just to go to like AGS, for example, that was an opportunity for us to get in front of 600 independent, or 400 to 600 independent retailers throughout the United States. So when given that opportunity, we want to take it. And whereas AGTA is a very different kind of audience, and we also want to take that too. And so I try to be where everyone is at.
That's excellent. And yes, as I say, that's very much in line with my way of thinking as well, is that we need to be everywhere and anywhere to spread these messages and to connect with as many like-minded people as possible. And then I think my final question, because I am conscious that we are approaching the end of the hour, I just wanted to know if someone could summarize a little bit about how people become a member of EM, what membership options there are, and where we can find that information.
I guess I can I can jump in there. We do have a membership page on the website, which will break down all of the different membership levels. We're working on perhaps simplifying that, just so you're aware, kind of moving forward. But you can be a student very affordably and be a member. And then there are different professional level memberships. There's also, I think, a really amazing bridge in between the student and the professional memberships of a mentored emerging jeweler membership, which is at $150 a year and comes with these incredible mentored sessions and access to quite a library now. There's 3 years worth of modules that are geared towards emerging jewelers. Thank you, Alix, for really spearheading that a few years ago. And we've continued to kind of develop that. So hopefully you see yourself in the memberships. I know that there's a couple of things. One is that we have metalsmiths in our name currently, and not everyone is a metalsmith, and we recognize that and welcome all. You don't have to be a maker. We actually have quite a number of members in our, I think it is a patron level of membership that allows you to kind of join us wherever you are within the industry. If you're an editor, writer, any sort of facet of the industry. And there are explanations of the benefits that you get for each of those membership levels in that page. Hopefully someone can, oh, someone's dropped it in. But what I really would like to stress beyond just kind of the black and white of the website is that we're truly a community, as I think Brandy said. And the idea is that we're stronger together, we're better together, and we have more of a collective voice. We can share resources. A lot of us are working either independently or kind of feel like maybe we're by ourselves, even if we're part of a larger corporation. You know, we're still trying to do the right thing. We're all kind of motivated by the same sort of values, I think. So really what EM is a community of those values. And we're always looking at how do we add more value, not just to our members, but to the world at large. So we're always working on that, always open to that. We welcome participation and input, and no idea is too big or too small. So thank you.
Anna, did you have something to say there?
Yes, I'm very, very happy to be here. I've been a patron since I think 3 or 4 years, and that's a way to keep in contact with most of you. I have one question and a couple of small news. The question is, I'm starting to work on a project to connect supply chains with artisanal, ancestral, alluvial, single origin, hand pan gold. And I would like to know how, Barbara and Brandy, could I contact you? It's just the starting of a project. It might become something really interesting. And so I would like to contact EM, of course, and of course, Fair Luxuries Tour, in order to start since the beginning, like an open discussion, what is interesting, what could add value, and pretty much in the way of doing something really centered in the needs and how to add value to the women miners. And so that's a small question. And good news, there's one project that was really interesting, and EM was key to it, and that was the GoFundMe for La Mina La Golconda from Roberto Alvarez, where you, and some of us gave some support and money, and he ended up putting underneath the earth, I don't know the exact word in English, 400 tons of mercury tiles. And Modelan, my company, using some of the premium that our clients pay when they purchase that gold, because what we do is we connect international designers with these women miners and jewelers, and we produce jewelry that gets exported. We are almost done with the webpage for La Gualconda. And it's going to be out. I'm going to contact you, Barbara, because we need permissions to use the logo. And that's a good news. We will let you know when it is ready. And it's becoming really important because violence is increasing in the region. They're getting extortions. And so that's going to be Roberto's voice internationally. You know, he writes, he makes some caricatures. And there's a blog inside the webpage, and that will allow him to keep on raising the voice of these miners. For those of you who doesn't know, La Gualconda is a gold mine. It was until I think 2017 Fairmine certified, not anymore. They're working to go back to that. And EM was key, of course, also Christina Miller, in order to raise the money to be able to put underneath the earth these 400 tons of mercury tails. So that was it. So
Thank
who
you.
should I contact in order to start like discussing the interest in sharing ideas about these?
Anna, I put my email in the chat. Come January.
Thank you very much, Mandy.
Yeah, January I'll change it to a more EM appropriate email. But for now, we could absolutely start the conversation, and love what you're doing. Always follow your efforts, and so, you know, yeah, Barbara and I will coordinate with you, and we'll make a time to chat.
Many thanks.
Yeah, excited.
And I will let you know when the webpage is ready. It's like days from going to the air.
Thank you, Anna, for that contribution. I think there's some really good examples there of the types of things that you can do within the framework and within the structure of ethical metalsmiths. So that was a really useful contribution. Thank you. I'm just going to, before we close, I'm conscious that Monica put a question in the chat. How often does Fair Luxury get together, have programs, etc.? Do we have a 2025 calendar? So we have, for a few years now, mainly conducted these open house sessions. They happen, on average, I would say probably every couple of months. We have behind the scenes, if you like, as a community, we've got together for various different activities and campaigns and things like that. It's not something necessarily that we discuss openly, if you like, but we've engaged with various organizations within the industry in order to progress our mission, if you like to call it that. So there are things behind the scenes, but in terms of public facing activity, the regular one has been the open house. We have, I'm hoping I'm allowed to say this, I'm going to say it anyway, so there's no one here to stop me since I have the platform, that we have some very strong plans, some firm intentions to come back to face-to-face activity next year. And we are looking in detail at how we might be able to put on a conference. So our last conference was back in 2019. So we ran a few between 2016 and 2019. And then, of course, there was the pandemic break, and we have yet to come back to face-to-face events, but we are very much hoping to do that, aiming for sometime in the spring of 2025. So watch this space. I think also on a related note, this is probably the last open house of the year. Of course, we do, as a community, we have flexibility. If someone comes to us with a great idea at relatively short notice, we can put on a webinar. And so we're more than happy to do that, a little bit like with the Action Coalition, is that people have to come with an idea, with their own initiative, and then we can give them the platform for their messaging if it's in line with what Fair Luxury has to say. So very happy to do that and make that offer to all of the Ethical Metalsmiths members as well. Great. Well, just remains for me to say, I think that it's been great for having to have this conversation with you, and thank you all for coming along and for engaging in this. And we're getting lots of feedback, positive feedback in the chat as well. So I'm hoping that this will be a continuing collaboration in terms of the open house sessions. I know it will be a continuing collaboration in terms of other activities, and I look forward to the next time. So on that note, thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your days. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stuart.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.